My name is Professor Usman Yusuf. I'm here today to exercise my constitutional right to be heard. I have been maligned, slandered, libeled, tried, prosecuted on the pages of the newspapers. So I thought Nigerians need to hear from me. When I accepted this position in July 2016, I, like many of us that left whatever it was we were doing and joined the government of President Muhammadu Buhari, did that because we believe in the vision of President Muhammadu Buhari, especially to rid this country of cancer of corruption. When I was appointed, I said a little prayer. I made a promise to my Creator that I'm going to be a good steward of that which I'm entrusted with. What I did next was, when I went to the NHIS, I did my due diligence. Remember, I've been doing clinical and bedside research. Never done this kind of job in my life. I was carrying bags and bags of documents and spending sleepless nights to find out about this agency, what it is about, what's been happening in the past, and what we can do for our people. What I found, fellow Nigerians, was shocking. That in the 13 years history of this agency, we've not done as well as we should have done. Then I asked myself, what is the mandate of the NHIS? The mandate of the NHIS is crystal clear. Universal health care coverage. What that is a very simple but noble concept. That every Nigerian, all 180 million of us, are entitled to good quality health care. And that it is a human right. It is a way to alleviate poverty in our people. And in doing that, what it should do for every Nigerian is to give us this protection, financial protection, so that when our people go to hospital with catastrophic illness, they don't have to sell their possessions, their farms, or their animals. And I have said it before, I'm repeating it again. Many of us, including yours sincerely, we live one major illness away from poverty. All the savings we think we have, a major illness will just wipe that away. And that is what this noble agency is supposed to protect all Nigerians from. Has this agency achieved its mandate? What did WHO recommend to all governments to be able to achieve UHC? The first thing it recommends to governments is that governments should try and reduce out-of-pocket spending for its people. In Nigeria today, if you go to hospital, 60 to 70% of what you spend is usually out of pocket. Number two, government should try and increase the risk pool. The more people that are able to pay into this pool, the more we are able to pay for. And number three, make health insurance mandatory. It isn't, as we speak today in Nigeria. But most importantly, WHO recommends to governments that governments should pay for those who cannot pay for themselves. Health insurance everywhere in the world is essentially the rich helping the poor, the strong helping the weak, and the healthy helping the sick. There is no more noble thing to do than that. Even in the most capitalistic countries in the world, it is the rich that subsidize for the poor. This is what NHIS was supposed to be for. The government at that time, 10% of federal government employees' salary is put into the pool. And the worker is supposed to contribute 5% of his salary into the pool. Unfortunately, since then, labor has kicked against it, and labor, they've not been paying their 5%. So essentially, it is federal government that has been paying 10% of workers' salary into the pool. That is for federal government employees. For those who are not federal government employees, you can pay into the pool. So ladies and gentlemen, this is a great, what would I say? This is a burden that we are given to help those who are going, who go to our hospitals. And I tell my workers, we're doing God's work. We're helping the weak. We're helping the sick. What did I find when I came to the NHIS in August 2016? In the 13 years of the NHIS, how many Nigerians have been covered? In the 13 years of the NHIS, I asked, how much has gone into the pool? How much has gone out? Who has benefited? Who has not benefited? Who are the stakeholders? How responsible have all the stakeholders been? What I found was shocking. In 13 years, NHIS, we've been able to cover only 3 million Nigerians. I started asking questions. How much came in? How much went out? The amount of money that federal government invested into the NHIS, the output has not been impressive. Abysmally embarrassing for this country that has so much natural and human resources. Who are the major stakeholders in the NHIS? It is we, the NHIS, as the regulator, HMOs, health maintenance organizations. They are our middlemen. NHIS does not pay hospitals directly. It pays to this middleman called HMOs. They are supposed to pay hospitals. The next stakeholder are hospitals. And then our elected representatives. And then labor. And then our appointed leaders that appointed us in the ministry and in the presidency. And above all Nigerians, whether or not you are an enrollee, particularly our men and women in uniform, we cover them. What is the importance? I found that what is the significance of NHIS in this country? NHIS as an agency, fellow Nigerians, is an agency more than many that has the potential to do a lot of good for our people. It can make impactful difference in the lives of our people. In spite of all our failings, NHIS, and there are many, and I'm the first to say, we have failed in many ways. But in spite of all our failings, NHIS has increased access to health care for our people. NHIS has reduced the cost of health care. You go to hospital, you get charged 10% of what you are charged. NHIS sustains all federal tertiary hospitals, all state hospitals, all military hospitals, all police hospitals, and major private hospitals in this country. So ladies and gentlemen, this is an agency that is very crucial to our health care. And it's an agency that should be taken care of. It's an agency that we have left for too long in the hands of those who have brought it to its knees. Recently, NHIS has been in the news for not so good reasons. This is not the first time. The last time I was here in the NHIS, I was on my chair for 10 months before I was suspended. Now again, 9 months, I'm suspended again. Why? Nigerians want to know. There's so much in the news. I personally would not have the time or the energy or the strength to go after every little news in this country. But I want Nigerians to think and ask themselves, why? Why this guy? If I want to steal money, nobody will hear anything. I've said it before, and I'm saying it again. NHIS money is blood money. I accepted this position to do good. That was why we went into medical school. There is no greater honor for me than to serve. Here I was, a doctor, doing research and clinical medicine. The higher up you go in the ladder of medicine, the fewer patients you see. I was appointed on this chair that has the potential to make a difference in the lives of millions. For me, there is no greater honor than this. And I will do this job for free. In March, our new council, NHIS board, was inaugurated. That was the best time of the life of NHIS since I've been there. This council was constituted, composed of men and women of honor and integrity from different walks of life. They were there to help me, and help they did, to help this agency achieve its mandate of giving health to our people. Things went very well initially. Relationships deteriorated because we lost track of why we're there. Every day of my life, I'm reminded of why I'm there. Wherever I go in this country, from the edges of the Sahara to the creeks of the Niger, I visit hospitals. I'm a pediatrician. My first point of call is pediatric wards. I see a mother holding her sick child without a place to lay in her back. I go to a delivery room. In some hospitals, water dripping, a mother is giving birth. Why do I go to hospitals? To remind me of why I am on this chair. To remind me of who I'm working for. These are the people I'm working for, and nobody else. When I came, what I saw, I was advised, do not rock the boat. The main stakeholders are the NHIS, the regulator, HMOs I told you about, hospitals, and our elected representatives. When I came, the enrollee, who is the contributor, who we are here working for, has been lost in the shuffle. Nobody's talking about him. Everybody is talking about how much money we can get. Nobody's talking about the enrollee. I said, ladies and gentlemen, in the NHIS, if we are a business, we will go bankrupt because we have not achieved our mandate. If we are a business, we are not deserving of that which we are enjoying. All the big black cars, all the perks I get as a chief executive, this abysmal number is not acceptable. So I said, we have to do things differently. I was the first to look within and say, NHIS, we are the regulator. Whatever failing you see in healthcare financing in Nigeria, we cannot absolve ourselves of responsibility. We are the regulator that was sleeping on duty. And that's why all the mess you see in healthcare financing in Nigeria. We must take responsibility. And I, on this chair, the helm of this agency, I vowed we are going to do things differently. I assembled HMOs. Nigerians need to know there are 3 classes of HMOs. The first class are defense HMO. This HMO takes care of valiant men and women in uniform. The second is police HMO. The third, civilian HMO. I'm going to talk briefly about each one of them. Defense HMO takes care of all armed forces and security forces. When I came, there were problems. Our men and women in the trenches in the northeast used to call me. Their family admitted in hospitals, and HMOs were not taking care of them. When the complaints became incessant, I asked for an appointment to see the Chief of Army Staff. and he obliged me. I went and sat with him and said, General, we have a problem. We cannot send our men and women in harm's way and not taking care of their families. I told him everything. And as the general that he is, he solved this thing swiftly. He connected me with the commander of the commandant of Nigerian Army Medical Corps and the medical director of the Defense HMO. And they sorted out these problems, and things are much better now with Defense HMO. That is why it is the only HMO out of the 57 that currently has full license to practice as an HMO. The next HMO, group of HMO, is Police HMO. Police HMOs is the largest HMO because of the size of the Nigerian police and then their dependents. When I came, we were getting incessant problems, complaints about the police HMO. I would be driving on roadblocks. Policemen, when they see me with NHIS logo on the number plate, they will keep complaining. I again had an appointment, and I met and I saw the Inspector General of Police. The Inspector General of Police did all we asked and more to clean the HMO, to serve his people. It is much, much better. Is it 100%? No. But it is much, much better than it was when both of us came to office. Next is civilian HMOs. There are 57 HMOs in this country. 1 police, 1 defense, and the rest civilian HMOs. Civilian HMOs, when I came, it is like the wild, wild west. Land of brazen impunity. And I told them, I gathered them in Abuja. I said, there is a new sheriff in town, and I'm here to clean this mess. We were paying HMOs 3 months in advance for the last 12 years to pay hospitals, but they were not. And I asked why. Our people will go to hospitals and they're not treated well because HMOs have not paid hospitals. And I asked why. Patients would call HMOs, or hospitals would call HMOs, HMOs will not pick the phone. I have an HMO living in Port Harcourt with huge debt in Federal Medical Center, Abeokuta. So sick people are in Abeokuta, the money is in Port Harcourt. Hospital that sees the largest number of NHIS enrollee is Aminu Kano Teaching Hospital in Kano. HMOs live in Lagos. Sick people laying in Kano, money out there in Lagos. You call HMOs, they don't pick the phone. So I asked, what do they do with this money that we give them? They did one of 3 things. They either fix this money in the banks to accrue interest while our people go to hospitals and get treated shabbily, or they buy foreign exchange, or they use this money as collateral to get bank loans. This is what's been going on. And many hospitals in this country, I get inundated by complaints from hospitals, HMOs not paying. Not only that, all their licenses have expired. Some as far back as 2013. And I asked my people, will the central bank deal with any bank that doesn't have a license? Will NNPC deal with any petrol station that doesn't have a license? Will I be able to go and practice at the National Hospital without a license? Will a lawyer be able to go to court without a license? Then why are we giving these unlicensed entities billions of naira of people's money? And they are not licensed. HMOs are supposed to have contract with the NHIS and contract with the hospitals. The last time any contract was signed between the NHIS and HMO was 2005, at the inception of NHIS. So much impunity. Everybody was here. Everybody was complaining. This is what I meant. Unlicensed entities, we're giving them money 3 months ahead, they were not paying. They were living far away from where people are. And they are even on the board of the NHIS. So they're regulated on the board of the regulator. I said this is not going to continue. Not this time. The board of corruption, we're not going to rock it, we're going to sink it. We're going to clean up the system. HMOs will be licensed, HMOs will pay hospitals. NHIS will be responsible, hospitals will be responsible to our patients. Next, I visited and spoke with Committee of CMDs in Calabar. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm in the midst of friends. I can take some liberty and speak the truth. We went to medical school to do good, to help our people. But our patients are not treated well in your facilities. Consistently what I hear from CMDs are HMOs are not paying us. HMOs are not paying us. Remember, this is people's money. Fellow Nigerians, this is what I said I'll do. Number one, I say all HMOs in this country will be licensed. The first condition I set is every HMO must present to the NHIS a signed letter of non-indebtedness signed by the CMD of all the hospitals they serve. Number one. And they will pay NHIS all money owed NHIS. And before I came, 2013 to 2015, the security agency DSS investigated corruption in the NHIS and discovered that 1.025 billion was paid to HMOs illegally, and recommended that this money be recouped. When I came back, I started writing letter to them to recoup this money. I'm very happy to report to Nigerians over 75% of this money has been returned. By the end of December, all will be refunded. If not, I will delete the HMO and hand them over to EFCC. So the first condition I said, for them to be licensed, present to me letter of non-indebtedness. They realize that they are not able to do that. That is why they are funding all of this. They're funding unions. They're funding the press. They're taking me to court to hold status quo. Fellow Nigerian, status quo is not acceptable. Status quo is unjust. Status quo is unfair. Status quo is we give these entities, unlicensed entities, people's money to pay to hospitals and they are not paying. I'm happy to report to Nigerians they are paying. CMDs of hospitals are now calling me and thanking me for empowering them. Whereas previously they would call HMOs would not pick their phone. Now HMOs are begging them to give them these letters of non-indebtedness. They are paying. And they have been paying NHIS their money. Another thing, there are two big HMOs that have been outrightly taken over by a foreign company without the approval of the regulator, which is the NHIS. The implication of this is, and I ask people, would any foreign company come and take over Zenith without the approval of CBN? Or would any foreign company come and take over Owando without the approval of NNPC or any regulator? But because of the impunity of the past, that's what has been happening. That was what was done. The implication of that is profit is being repatriated outside the shores of this land, instead of keeping this money and investing it here for our people. This is the impunity I found. HMOs doing whatever they wanted. NHIS sleeping on duty. Hospitals not treating our patients well. Our patients get lost in the shuffle. They had no recourse. I said I'm going to be the chief executive officer, executive secretary of the enrollee. I'm going to empower the enrollee. What I've done since I've been on this chair, I have deployed desk officers in major hospitals in Abuja to be advocates for enrollees. If an enrollee goes any of the points and he's not treated well, or if they say this is not on the NHIS roll, you have to pay, he comes to our desk officers for them to fight for him. That is why we are here. Another thing, what I found, NHIS finances was in shambles. I had no clear idea as to how much NHIS money was transferred from commercial banks into our TSA account. I came in August, I started work in August 2016. I commissioned forensic auditing firm in December 2016 to look at the books of the NHIS. All our books, and I gave them fear to go to all the banks that we had money, where we kept money with. 3 years after TSA, NHIS still has billions of its money in 13 commercial banks in this country. This money that nobody would have known about until I set up this forensic auditing firm. This is people's money still in commercial banks, defying federal government order to send up people's money to TSA. Is somebody still getting that interest? We are finding out. I am working with the Ministry of Justice Asset Recovery Department, the Central Bank, Accountant General's Office, and the partners that did all this work, and the NHIS. We are doing a reconciliation, and all this money will be returned back to the TSA accounts of the NHIS for us to work for our people. So our board, we started well. Things deteriorated. The problem is one alone. HMOs are the ones that have been inciting all this rancor in the boardroom. They have been paying unions as their foot soldiers. They have been paying the press and taking me to court to maintain status quo. I asked Nigerians to ask very good questions. About 10 questions I have. Number one, it is difficult for me to keep saying, oh, I didn't do this, I didn't do this, I didn't do this. The last time I was suspended, I went through EFCC, ICPC, all my bank account, BVN, my children, even my dead mother. 2 years. Came back. The last time my wife told me, you know, in the last 6 months you've been reinstated, you've stolen 65 billion. People are mistaking NHIS for NNPC. We are not NNPC. It used to really get on me. Sometimes it is my children living out abroad that call me and say, Baba, these guys are still after you. When you say something about a public officer, it's not him alone, it's his family. If I'm here to steal money, you won't hear anything about me. We'll do it quietly, like it's been done. We're here to work. Now, it doesn't get onto me as it used to. Because I have realized worse things have been said about men greater than I. And it is the knocks and the bruises you take as a public officer in Nigeria. Public office in Nigeria is like contact sports, like rugby or American football without helmet. You get hit and you stand up and brush it and keep going. This is what you get. It doesn't bother me as much as it used to. And I'm trying to talk to my family that this is what it takes in Nigeria. Where I come from, the onus of proof is on the person who accuses you. Here, anybody can write or say anything he wants. And after you go through all you go through, he brushes off and walks away. Went through this all these 2 years, EFCC, ICPC. I've come out of it. And I recommend that every public servant in Nigeria should go through the same way I did. I commend the men and women of EFCC and ICPC. Young men, very professional, not intimidated by position. I was really very impressed, and it gives me hope in Nigeria we're on the right track. Corruption is fighting me. And that's why you hear all of this. So Nigerians need to ask themselves, why that Thursday the 18th of October? Why not the 15th? Why not the 20th? Fellow Nigerians, on Thursday the 18th was the day I was supposed to present to council the number of HMOs, those HMOs that have qualified for licenses or not. My suspension was nothing but preemptive strike by HMOs and their allies. This is what it is. Essentially a preemptive strike. Nigerians need to ask basic questions. Number one, does the council of a part-time council of any MDA in this country have the legal authority to suspend its chief executive? It is very important because we are asking fundamental question of the law. We are a country of laws. If you do not have that authority to do what you did, so on what basis were you doing what you did? You are usurping as a council, usurping the power of the president. This is very serious. You cannot abuse your power in any council. You cannot intimidate the chief executive to do the wrong thing. This is essentially what happened. The council usurped the power of the president and suspended the chief executive. I was wrong. They were in error. And they should have known better. Because they are men and women of honor and integrity, should have been properly advised. In June 2018, we were having problems with the council, the chairman particularly. I went to the office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation to complain. They say there are many agencies like that. And it's understandable, we were all getting seated together and getting to understand each other. I, Executive Secretary NHIS, wrote 10 questions to the Office of the Secretary General, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, concerning the roles of the NHIS Chief Executive and the roles of the board, as it is outlined in the law. I asked many questions. One of the questions I asked, who calls for meeting? One of the other questions I asked, how many meetings in a year are council supposed to have? Because our act says at least 4, but the federal government in 2016, to reduce cost of running councils, restricted council meetings to only 4 in a year. I showed this to my chairman. He threw it away and said, our act said this. So ask these questions for clarification. How many times is council supposed to sit in a year? Number one. Number two, who calls for meetings? In retrospect, some of these questions may seem stupid because we are now wiser. Who calls for meetings? Is it the chairman or the chief executive? Number three, does the council or the chairman particularly have the power to usurp the responsibility of a chief executive and the day-to-day running of the agency, particularly as it relates to postings and redeployment of staff? Because our chairman wanted to present a memo to council that posting and redeployment is the prerogative of council. The other question I ask is, does the chairman of the council or the board has the power to query the chief executive? And this is relevant because in 1 month, the chairman of NHIS council queried me 4 times about things that are essentially administration of the agency. The other question I ask, if I, as a chief executive, I'm going to travel abroad for official reasons, who do I ask permission from? Is it the chairman of my board or the honorable minister of my supervising ministry? I ask all of these questions. And in July, the office of the secretary to the government of the federation, the legal department wrote me a beautiful explanations of the role of everybody. And because the office of the SGF saw these issues with our board, we were included. We, the NHIS, was included as one of the first agencies in the retreat that was conducted by the office of the secretary to the government for newly constituted councils and chief executives. We were there for 4 days. And this retreat was wonderful. Wonderful in the sense that it answered almost all questions. At the end of it, it was like fire brigade putting out fire. Things were much better. Everybody knew his role. But not long after that, the chairman particularly of the NHIS Council became impossible. She was again querying me. She was inciting insubordination. She was inciting union, all at the behest of HMOs. So, fellow Nigerians, I ask Nigerians to ask 1 of 10 questions. Number 1, does the NHIS, does the part-time board of any agency have the power to suspend or disciplinary action, take disciplinary action against the chief executive of the agency? The yes or no. In the case of NHIS and all agencies in this country, it is a no. We are appointees of the president, and it is the prerogative of the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to do that. Council can recommend to minister, and minister will recommend to the president. My board, the board of the NHIS, overreached its power and abused its power, and it's causing a lot of chaos in the NHIS. Number 2, the board chairman said on national TV, when she was asked, on whose authority was this action taken? She consulted with the Honorable Minister of Health and got the approval of the Honorable Minister of Health. I think Nigerians should be asking the question to show that approval, because clearly the Honorable Minister of Health will not give her approval to do that which is over and beyond her mandate. She did that. Nigerians need to ask that. Why I ask that is there is chain of command. There is insubordination. There is obeying the rule of law. We're a country of law. People should not intimidate. People should not overreach. People should not do that which is not within the confines of the law. Number 3, all the unsubstantiated petitions written against me are the reasons for suspension. Unsubstantiated. There are thousands of petitions, unsubstantiated, written against every public officer in this country. If that is the reason for suspending chief executive in this country, including ministers, the menu will be out. This country will not run. Why? Because the culture of anybody can write petition. And because agencies that these petitions are sent to, they are obligated to check and to investigate these petitions. But where is the presumption of you are innocent until proven guilty? Where is the presumption that the burden of proof is on he who accuses rather than the accused? I have already been convicted on the pages of the newspapers. I've stolen this, I've stolen this. Nobody has heard from me. Nobody has anything to prove. Are these allegations, I want Nigerians to ask, are these allegations brand new allegations, or are they the same old recycled allegations of the past that have been investigated by ICPC and EFCC? And if they are new, because of the criminal nature of many of them, they should be taken care of and investigated by properly constituted authority like the EFCC, ICPC, or the Nigerian police. Not on the pages of Nigerian newspapers or social media, or yelling and making noise and screaming just to distract me from doing the right thing. Number 4, I ask myself, who is paying unions and the hired hoodlums I see? Go in the morning in the NHIS, you will see them dropped in buses with their generator and public address system. They stand there, scream for a couple of hours, and they leave. And they get paid and go away. Who is paying? Who is paying the price? I ask Nigerians, follow the money. The chairman doesn't have that money. I know it is HMOs that are paying. I know that. But I ask myself, what is the real purpose of all of this? Is it to malign me? Is it to embarrass me? Is it to kick me out of office? Or is it to embarrass this government? My answer is all of the above. If it is me you are after, good luck. Because I remain focused. I will not be shaken. I will not be intimidated into doing anything that's wrong. You can do more than suspend me, but I will continue to do that which is right. I have made a promise to my Creator that I'm going to be a good custodian of that which I'm entrusted, which is our people's commonwealth. And I've told Nigerians, Thursday, the 18th of October had significance. On the day they suspended, the purported suspension was the day I was going to announce to council HMOs that qualified to be licensed owner. It was a preemptive strike. It was a coup. I call on all Nigerians to look deep within themselves and do the right thing and filter the truth from evil. The whole idea is to keep churning. You can speak lies, you can propagate lies